Now, there's those of you who will be using Linktree. When you went to their Linktree menu, it was like reading a freaking novel. Make it super simple so that they don't have to read a novel to figure out where they are, and they also won't be distracted. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, the place to be for bosses and business owners who want to show up consistently and creatively, and most importantly, through their content. So the polling results came in from Instagram stories, and you guys chose for me to do my next YouTube video on how I would get my first 500 subscribers on Instagram and grow an Instagram account from scratch over how to use LinkedIn stories. So that is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna learn how I would grow an Instagram account from scratch if I was starting from zero in 2020. Now, before we dive into my top 5 tips for growing an Instagram account from scratch, I want to start with something that I think is super obvious, but it may not be for everybody. So let's go through that. And the first thing really is to have your bio up to scratch. So that includes your avatar, that includes your business name, that includes searchability, that includes what you do in your business and having that stated, and that includes the link. So let's go through all that. So let's start with your avatar. Now, the temptation with avatars is to get fancy or to put logos in them, but really the best thing you can do is have a picture of your face looking down the barrel of a camera, smiling with a plain color in the background. It really stands out on the Instagram feed, and there's an element of memorability to it. I mean, you can see mine here has a green background, and I promise you I didn't come up with that. I noticed that as I was scrolling through Instagram, the accounts that were standing out to me and most memorable for me had a nice plain colored background. Now in mine, I've also got the lights behind it, but that's really just a branding thing for me. And to be quite honest, I could take them out and just have the green as it stands on its own. So I suggest having your avatar like that, because when people feel like they're connecting with other people, then they're more likely to follow you and initiate conversation, or at least reciprocate within conversation, because your face is there and it's not a logo, and they know it's not being managed by someone else. It's actually you behind the brand. The next part of your bio that's super important, especially if you're a personal brand, but even if you're not, is to have what you do, or the keywords of what you do, in your bio next to your name. So you'll see with mine, it says Sarah Moore Content Queen. Now, if I wanted to get even more specific, I could say content marketer, content creator, but that was enough for me. I just wanted the word content in there. For you, maybe you're a mechanic, maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a business coach. Have those words in your bio next to your name, so that as you search in the feed, you actually come up. Someone's looking for a business coach or a mechanic or an accountant, and they just type that in, your name is actually going to come up because those words are searchable. The next thing in your bio is to obviously have what it is that you do and who you serve, especially if you're quite niche down. I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole other video in and of itself. But the next and final thing I want to address in your bio is for you to have a link for people to click out to. Now, with that link in mind, it's my YouTube videos, because my YouTube videos are my #1 priority for people to go to, other than my Instagram feed itself, right? Now, there's those of you who will be using Linktree, and what I will say to this, I actually did a number of audits a month or so ago on people's Instagram accounts, and the #1 thing I saw with people using Linktree is that when you went to their Linktree menu, it was like reading a freaking novel. I don't want that. I want to know that I'm clicking on the blog, or clicking on the video, or clicking on, the downloadable. Use keywords like that so that it's really easy for the customer to identify what you've asked them to do. If you've said, hey guys, here's my latest blog post, the link is in my bio and you've used a Linktree link out, then you just want to have the word blog. You don't want the title of your blog. You don't want to complicate it. Just have blog, have podcast, have video, have downloadable. Make it super simple so that they don't have to read a novel to figure out where they are and what they're doing, and they also won't be distracted. Okay, now we've got our bio out of the way. Let's dive into the 5 things that I would do if I was starting an Instagram account from scratch. And if you are loving the content already in this video, then do me a favor, hit the subscribe button below, because I put these videos out every single week, and all I'm trying to do is give you guys tactical and helpful information so that you can go away and implement it in your business. So hit that subscribe button and let's dive into the meat of the video. Okay, so the first thing that I would do if I was starting out on Instagram these days is I would collaborate. It's hands down one of the best things you can do to be seen by many and trusted quickly. And what I mean by that is think about setting up an Instagram live show where you can have an interview or a discussion with other peers or other people who might have the same client as you, and you can essentially expose yourself to their audiences and appear as an expert, right? And the way that works is if somebody's already built an audience, then their audience trusts them. And if they bring you into their audience by collaborating on a live stream, then their audience is going to have a lot faster trust for you, and a lot more available trust for you, simply by way of the fact that they already trust the other person you're live streaming with. So that is hands down the first thing I would do. It's going to get you maximum exposure, and it's also going to allow you to build your audience the right way with the right audience in mind. Second to that, if you are going to do Instagram Live, I would then also download that and upload it back onto Instagram TV so that there's valuable evergreen content and you're making use of that feature. Instagram really loves it when you make use of all their features. And sometimes, not everyone has a production team like I do. So it can be difficult to do live streams, to make Instagram TV videos, to make videos for your feed, and to do all these different things and create all this different content. So it's a great way of repurposing those interviews that are of high value so that as people find you later on, they're able to access that content you've already created in its evergreen state on Instagram TV. My second biggest tip for you if I was growing an Instagram account from scratch would be to post educational content every single day, consistently, without fail. It's very simple when it comes to content. The more you post, the more visibility you get, the more opportunity you have. So to show up consistently means when people find you in their hashtags, when you go and do those collabs and those live streams and people come to you from that, and you've got high value educational content in your feed, they're more likely to stick around because they know that you're legit, you show up, you're there bringing value all the time. It's not an afterthought, right? So I cannot stress enough how important it is to show up every single day on Instagram. And look, if you can't show up on your feed, if you can't create that produced content, at least be showing up on stories. But we will get to that tip later, but you need to be showing up every single day. My third tip for you for growing an Instagram account from scratch is to engage on hashtags. Now, there are two very divided schools of thought on this. Some people say, it's Gary Vee's $1.80 strategy. If you've never heard of it, don't worry about it. I'm about to explain it to you anyway. There's other people who don't really buy into it at all. They say it doesn't work. But basically, Gary Vee made this concept famous by calling it the $1.80 strategy. And the idea is that you go and leave your 5 cents or your 2 cents, I don't know, whatever the math is. I don't do math. Math's not my strong suit. On someone else's content by clicking on hashtags that are relevant to you, going in, looking through the comments on different posts and leaving your 2 cents, 5 cents, whatever you want to leave, right? And the idea is that by engaging, those people now have you in front of their eyeballs and they'll click through to your account, and a certain percentage will engage back, they'll follow, they'll start a conversation in your DMs. Now, it really is one of those things where you just have to try it for yourself. I manage a lot of different Instagram accounts. I've had moderate success with some and no success with others. And to be honest, I actually just think that it's about finding the right hashtag. It's about leaving a very meaningful comment, not leaving emojis, not just liking, not going me too. It's about going, you know what, you've asked a question. That particular person in my industry has 70,000 comments, probably can't get to it. Let me help you out with the answer there. It's not about going into your tiniest competitor or the tiniest person in your industry who only gets 3 comments and sabotaging all their comments, right? Sure, go in and like them, but maybe it's more about going into those people with really big really big audiences, and going into their comments and maybe picking up where they left off and leaving helpful, meaningful advice, thoughts. You know, even sometimes it is just agreeing with someone. It's that like-mindedness. So spending 10 minutes a day on that will definitely help you grow. And what I will add to that is it is much easier for someone to follow you when geographically they're in the same location. So I know that I've had more success. I live in Brisbane, Australia. I've had more success when I show up to other Brisbane, Australia accounts and converse with them, because automatically there's room for us to meet up in person, have a drink together, have a conversation, collaborate in person. So it feels, you know, more connected and more relevant and more meaningful than it would me connecting with someone on the other side of the earth. It's not to say don't do that. I'm just saying it's easier to have that follow situation when those people are local. So make sure you're engaging on relevant hashtags. My 4th tip for you, if you're gonna grow an Instagram account from scratch, is to use stories every single day. And I mentioned this earlier, but this is one of my ultimate hacks, right? So many people put out content on the feed, but they're too afraid to hold the camera up and show face to stories every single day. And it is of high value to do so. Let me tell you why. If you post a piece of content and you put 30 hashtags on it and people find you through a hashtag, through that piece of content, and you have a story running, the first thing they're going to do to see if you're really for them is not scroll through your feed, most likely. It's go to your stories and check out who you are, what you're about, how you show up, your tone of voice, whether you align with them. And if you have stories going and they're interesting and they're compelling and they show behind the scenes and they're collaborative, and you say, and you have polls going, or you say, DM me on this, they're far more likely to stay because you have connected with them on multiple levels now, right? Rather than going to a feed where there's a juicy piece of content on the feed and nothing in stories, because people crave community. They want to see your face, they want to hear your voice, they want to make friends, they want leadership. So you need to be showing up every day, or at least the 24 hours around that piece of content that you've put out on the feed. You need to be putting out content on stories as well. You can take that tip alone to the bank, I promise. Okay, before I dive into my 5th and final tip for this video, I want to let you know that I have a Facebook group that dives deeper into this kind of thing. It's the mindset, the tactics, and the strategy around content. I do a live stream every single week on a different topic. It's not these videos that I create here, it's other things. So I welcome you to that group. The link is in the description. Make sure you fill out the questions or you may not get into the group. It's a very intimate group. I'm very protective of it. We have a great time there. You're able to ask any questions. Click the link in the description and pop over to the group, and I will see you over on Facebook. Okay, let's dive into the 5th and final tip. My 5th and final tip for you for growing an Instagram account from scratch is if Instagram is of high priority to you and it really matters to you to grow this, you need to be dogmatic about it. You need to be one-eyed about it. You need to not have anything else in your sights except Instagram. So what do I mean by that? I mean, on every other social media platform that you have, you need to be pointing back to Instagram. You need to put it as a link in your email footer. You need to email the audience that you already have and tell them to follow you on Instagram and incentivize it. Tell them, I'm putting out amazing content here that I don't put out anywhere else, and show them little snippets of it. Give them the opportunity to follow you there. If you create YouTube videos similar to how I put my handle in my videos here, I'm sending everyone there as well. Now, YouTube is my first priority, but Instagram is my second, so I send everybody there as well. If you deliver a presentation, a workshop, if you live stream in somebody else's Facebook group, send everybody to Instagram. It will be the fastest way that you can grow, because here's the thing, where you show up with authority, that is the place where people will take action from, right? They're not just going to always follow you from a hashtag or anything like that. They are more likely to follow you there when you've shown up with authority. So let me give you an example. A couple of months ago, I did a guest spot for my business coach for his group of people, right? And I talked about content, building brand, that kind of thing. We talked about Instagram predominantly in that time. And I told everyone my handle. I didn't necessarily tell them to follow me. You know, I jokingly suggested it, but I got 40 followers off the back of that. That was the easiest way for me to grow my Instagram in that time. I've never gotten 40 followers in any other way. I also recently did another talk for an online event. Again, my Instagram grew. Every single time I do workshops or collaborations or events, my social media following grows. Now, when I used to do in-person events before COVID, I would put Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the things. Now, I just put Instagram, I just put YouTube. You need to decide the platform for you, be one-eyed about it, and go for it with everything you've got. Okay, we reached the end of the video. If you're still here, I applaud you. You've done a great job. I hope these tips have helped. But before we go, let me know in the comments below which one of these tips you are not doing and you are going to implement. I want to hear from you. I reply to everybody in my comments, regardless of what you say. I reply to you. It is me. I love knowing the information that has helped you, because then that helps me create future videos, right? So leave an answer in the comments below so that I can see how this video has helped you. And don't forget to sign up to my Facebook, Facebook group. The link is in the description. Leave a like on this video because that really helps me out. And I will see you guys next week in the next video. Bye-bye.
You've done well. At the end should be hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Hit that subscribe button, and also give this video a huge like. Do me a humongous favor and leave a like on this video.
Okay, darling. Thank you.